And I want to bring in my presentation something about the monitoring in the Alps and also challenges we have. And I think it's also really important to have a good collaboration in between all the organizations, also what Sönke discussed or presented, to involve all the different people, organizations, and data. I want to start with monitoring differences and similarities. And I thought to bring some short examples from Switzerland. In Switzerland, you know, we have a Swiss National Park, and the Swiss National Park is about more than 100 years old. And here on the picture, you see the monitoring, how they did the monitoring before. And it's the same for different natural research societies. It's a little bit sad what Sönke said, the old data. And I think it's really important that we have here in different places, we have good data, and for a long time. And we have now in Switzerland the monitoring of biological diversity in Switzerland since 2001, mainly on species as butterflies, birds, plants. And we have differences in monitoring schemes and species groups. And I want to show it here with this picture. When you have a monitoring about large carnivores, it's really easy because normally you have a lot of data, a lot of people can bring the information. It's not so hard to take the information of this group. When you have monitoring, for example, you see here, it's probably a little bit small, but you can see it's mainly insects. And you have with the lines, you see whether the monitoring started. And you can say approximately about 2000, we started with monitorings in a more scientific way, which we can now also combine or use for our idea to bring together a kind of an Alps-wide monitoring. Yeah. And the purpose of monitoring is, on the one hand, the science. It's monitoring of species. And this contributes also to the awareness and to the knowledge of the mountain biodiversity. The picture you see here is from the Environmental Agency of Europe. And I think it's really interesting because they are doing a lot of monitoring all over the Europe. And they can show with her monitoring, highlighting trends. And they use exactly this monitoring data for showing the trends. And you see it here, for example, for the birds. You have, I have to look where I have to look. All common birds are in the forest. You have a better, you have an amount of birds with increasing, and all the other birds are decreasing. And the same is when you have a look on the insects, as on the butterflies. With this kind of monitoring, you see more the trend which is going on, but you can't read out of this kind of data, the metadata. And therefore, we thought about to speak a little bit about the scale and the type of monitoring from the EU versus the Alps and the different countries. Here on this slide, you see the monitoring of the distribution of the ecological status in different water habitats, and I will focus only on the rivers. When you have a look, we have more than half of the rivers are in a bad, poor, or moderate status. This is the view of the EU countries. And it's I want to say, a high-level view. And when you compare it with monitoring which was done in the Alps about the rivers, you have here all the river stretches which are red ones are in affected status. And all the rivers which are gray, are, even you don't have data, or they are not affected. It's not so easy to have all this information, but with this picture I want to say, when you go deeper in a region, normally you have better data. And therefore I think it's really important on which scale we want to focus. When we go now to the country scale, I think you know all the different monitorings of the different states. You have here an example from Austria. They are monitoring the biodiversity in the cultural landscape. Or, for example, in Liechtenstein, they are monitoring the biodiversity in the agricultural land. Or in Italy, an example, they are monitoring a lot of biodiversity issues. And we have also from France monitoring from the state. In Germany, we have, I think, as I read, really a lot of monitoring data available when you want to have a look on it. And we have in Switzerland the Swiss biodiversity monitoring only for some species. I wanted to say with these 3 examples, in my opinion, it would be worth to combine something, but it's really hard to do this work. And I want to finish with the value of monitoring, because I think it's really important that we all the value. It's on the one hand, it's a knowledge about the presence of species. You can say, okay, that's an interest for the science, but it's really important for showing trends. And it's a possibility of inventory development. And we have the monitoring can give us information for an action, and also an impact monitoring we can implement to control the implementation of measures we did. And when you have a look on the picture, it's a picture where they identified first hotspots for insects, and from this identifying, they created measures, and in the end, you can, with the monitoring, measure also the effect of your measures, I think, yeah. And what's really important is you can have an awareness raising also for the topic or for the issue of monitoring by involvement of people with the citizen science monitoring scheme. And you can have a direct positive influence of biodiversity with monitoring. That's my short insight from the Alpine view.